even though there were successes all the time and I had fun chasing business and getting business in the door, but I was always like, people would ask me what my company did or what I was doing, and I would describe it and they'd be like, but what do you do?
In a world where media is saturated with outrage and noise and negativity, telling stories that inspire hope has become a bold and radical act, something quite frankly we need a lot more of in this world. Audiences aren't just craving entertainment. They're demanding meaning, trust, and connection. That's why the future of storytelling isn't about bigger budgets or louder headlines. It's about clarity and conviction and the courage and vulnerability to lead with purpose. And that is the through line of Parker Williams' career. For too long, entrepreneurs and business owners have been told they have to choose between profit and purpose. If you're tired of burning out, done chasing someone else's version of success, and ready to grow with more purpose, prosperity, and peace of mind, you're in the right place. Because every business has the potential to do good and do well. I'm Chase Friedman, and this is In Pursuit of Purpose, where strategy meets soul. As the CEO and executive producer of Lightbeam, Parker is dedicated to producing positive, uplifting stories that shift culture. Before Lightbeam, he scaled Wheelhouse Media into a multi-market production company, produced award-winning films recognized as Tribeca, and co-founded Leadwire, which is a platform reimagining how independent journalism is funded and distributed. In this episode, Parker and I are going to unpack how purpose-driven storytelling can be a strategic advantage in a super, super noisy marketplace, and what it looks like to lead companies and creative ventures that refuse to compromise between doing good and doing well. Parker Williams, thanks for being here today, man. You are guest number 1, episode 1. No pressure.
Chase, it is an honor, and hanging out with you, there is never any pressure. So happy to chat with you today.
So like I shared with you a moment ago, we want to get a little real, a little raw. So feel free to bear all, or we can dial it back. But honestly, I've known you for a bit of time. I've always been inspired by your journey and what you've achieved, and especially what you're doing now. But I kind of want to take things back to the younger Parker. I'd love to kind of get a little bit of your origin story. When you first started out, when your career was ahead of you, what did success look like, and what did that mean to you?
Well, success is actually something that or the idea of success is something that kind of grew with me. I mean, really, I was, for the end of school into the first half of my career, success was just getting by. There wasn't really an expectation. It was, I want more than what I have, but maybe I'll just wait and let it come to me versus going out and getting it. And, I look back, I wish I'd had more of the drive that I have today that I didn't necessarily have back then. But as time has gone along and wins and losses and highs and lows and everything that comes along with the career, success certainly means something different now than it did then. And so, now I got a 6-month-old baby, and, it's a whole reset again as to what success looks like. But it has changed a lot over the years and how I feel and what that word means.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how we continue to redefine that word and different stages and seasons of life. When you were just getting started out, I feel like you've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, but was there someone or some mentor or coach, another company out there that you look towards for inspiration on, this is how I'm going to build, my company?
Yeah. So I think what happened, the reason maybe I sort of had the lack of, I don't want to say, I guess it wasn't really a lack of drive that I had early on. I did not have a mentor or a person that I aspired to be or a place I aspired to go. I just had a pretty small world view as a younger person. To no one's fault, I knew I always wanted more than what I had, or to see more of the world, or to experience more of the world, to meet more people. And I just hadn't had a person in my life that had really impressed me enough or showed me a pathway, or someone that looked like me or seemed like me. I know that seems really stupid to say, but like, that person is successful and I want to get to where they are, and they've done it on their own, and I can do that. I always knew I didn't want to take like a traditional pathway to get wherever I was going to go and to here. And certainly that's been the case. But I guess it was, I'd kind of bounced around the agency world a little bit. I was in sports and entertainment. And it wasn't, there's a guy named Steve Pruitt who was sort of the first person that was like, okay, this is a successful guy who has built a career that looks pretty awesome to me. He was running a big media conglomerate at the time. He was making TV shows. He was wheeling and dealing in the entertainment industry. And I was like, this is really where I'd like to be as a person. And he was super, I guess, formidable in me deciding that I think I can do this. And here's someone who's done it. Who's willing to show me a lot about how they got to where they are. And so he gave me an opportunity to start producing television, and it was awesome. I loved it. From the second, I talk about the first day I was on set. I'd organized this crew to get to this location. We've got lights set up, cameras set up. We're getting ready to run an interview, and everybody's kind of standing around, and I'm like, why is everybody standing around? And I realized they were waiting on me to tell them, like, hey, let's go. This thing's getting started. And from that moment on, I was like, oh, I'm a producer, and I love it. I love being a producer. I love the fact that we're all here to make something, and that I get to be the one that says hit record. And that was a great day. And from that moment on, I was like, oh, I actually really think I can do this. I like it, and I now have a much clearer path into where I want to go.
I've known you for years, and this is the first time I've kind of heard this side of your origin story. I mean, this just kind of gives me goosebumps a little bit. Like I followed a similar path. It's sometimes just getting thrown into the fire. School, the hard knocks is the best way to learn, right? And there's nothing like that high of being on set for the first time and just saying go. But I'm glad you shared that. I mean, honestly, this is exactly the reason why I wanted to do this show, is for selfishly getting to hear your story and how it echoes, not exactly the same, but threads of mine, is like comforting in a weird way, right? Because I grew up, I never mentored, never guided, didn't have a playbook for it. But I always used to think, oh, well, gosh, including you, Parker, like he must have had it all dialed in. He knew exactly where he was going and how he was going to get there. But it demystifies the process a little bit. You know, for aspiring entrepreneurs or those who are already there, I think just not a lot of people talk about that messy, confusing start from the get-go. So I appreciate
I mean, totally confusing. And even the agency world, my sort of first taste in, I worked for an agency called Wasserman, which is now it was very new when I was working there. It's now become a pretty major player in the agency world. They're not just doing sports. It's now entertainment. They're doing the Olympics in LA. But Casey Wasserman was building that thing. And that was pretty interesting. But Casey's background and my background were so different. And nothing against what he's built, but he had a huge leg up with what his family had built in that space. So when I looked at him, it wasn't like, I want to be Casey Wasserman. It was like, I don't think I can necessarily be him, because he's starting, he's starting ahead of the game. I mean, he has a family legacy. He has the ability to go out and acquire businesses. And so when I was working for him, I got recruited to come help start a new agency, and that felt really good to me. I was like, here's an agency starting from scratch. I can be a part of it. And that was pretty fun for a few years. And then as we grew a little bit, I recognized that I wasn't the founder of that agency. I was someone that came and helped to get it off the ground and did a lot of the early grunt work and felt that thing. But I knew I wanted to be a founder. I wanted to be a person in charge, or I wanted to be the one that was the one building the thing. And it was my vision that we were trying to execute on. That led me into that producer role. That is little mini entrepreneurial things. They're small little businesses that are short-lived, but you put a team together, you create a product, and then you take that product out and you sell that product, and then you move on to the next one. So it becomes these little businesses that have all the makings of a big business. They're just sort of compact and small, and then you sell them and you move on. And I wanted to build a business around that type of product, and we got it. I mean, we had business right away. It wasn't necessarily the business we went into it with, but we got some business coming in the door. We said, okay, this is good. We made it to month 2, and then we make it to month 3. Yeah. And then, around month 4 and month 5, you're like, oh, this thing is going to keep going. What is it that we want to build now? Now we can start to think about what we want to build, and we can start thinking about how we're going to get there, and we can start thinking about, do we want to start taking some risk? And those risks are hiring people, or marketing ourselves, or traveling to a conference, or whatever it may be. But it means spending money that would have gone towards paying the rent on something that you're hoping is going to bring more money into the door. And you've got family back home that's like, okay, I support you, but I want my bills paid. I want to make sure that the rent is still covered. This is working pretty good how it is. Do you really need to grow this thing? And at the time, I very much felt like growth that's what I cared about the most, was growing. And so I don't know why that was what motivated me, but I was like, I want to grow my business until I don't know how to grow it anymore.
A couple of things you touched on, I want to kind of circle back. I mean, one, as you just kind of echoed, sometimes the best way to get into it is just jumping right in, right? Figuring things out as you go, saying yes. I know I have been there, saying yes to projects and clients that you might have never executed before. You have no idea, but you give it a head nod, you give some confidence.
I said yes to everything, Chase. Yes to everything, and I knew how to do nothing.
Well, amen. I mean, when I train, first of all, getting into film, school of the hard knocks, right? Learn the hard way, but by asking questions and making mistakes. But same thing, starting a marketing agency. I had no experience in education doing it. People ask me, how can you run a social media campaign, a website? And yeah, sure, of course. Why not? It doesn't look too hard. And then you go and you figure it out. But I think that gives a little bit of kind of confidence to anyone that's kind of waiting to take that next step. Sometimes we get a little paralysis by analysis. Do I have it all figured out? Do I have the business plan? Do I have the game plan? Do I know all the next steps? Sometimes you got to just go, right? But one of the things you mentioned that I've never even thought of as a parallel before, when you're producing content, right? It's almost like a proxy for starting mini businesses. When I was doing TV and web series and music videos, commercials, whatever, I never, even looking back now, I never thought of that as like business skills, because it's like you're producing, you're having to
you have to create a budget. You have to put a team behind that budget. You have to execute on that budget, and then
you got to be a leader. But that's just interesting to hear you echo that. That's been maybe a blind spot for me when I got into starting business. After years of doing film, I still felt like an imposter. I still felt like I have no idea how to run a business. I have no idea how to do any of this stuff, but maybe that's just kind of the blind spot some of us have as entrepreneurs going in, until we can kind of reflect back or have someone. I mean, you kind of like, you've been a bit of a mentor to me, tap us and say, hey, you actually do have these skills. You've done this in your own way, whether, you worked at a W-2 job. I feel like there's threads of life experiences that prepare you for this.
Oh yeah. There's really no way to experience entrepreneurship without just doing it. So you can go to school and you have people that have degrees. I don't have a business degree. And you can learn and practice. Nothing can truly prepare you for the reality of starting your own business other than just doing it. There's no way you can learn how to do it until you do it. And of course you're going to feel like an imposter, but I mean, you probably still feel like an imposter pretty often, just like I do. It's one of those things. And there are some people that I look at and I think, man, they really have it figured out. But then you talk to them and they say the exact same thing. They're like, I'm still figuring it out every day. Every day presents new challenges. If someone's on the fence about jumping in, really, there are good times and there are not so good times to do it. But sometimes those times that feel like they're not good times, maybe that is really the best time, because what else do you have to lose? I've had to start a couple of different times now, and both times that I've started have felt like really low points, I guess, and been like, this is not the best time to start a business. And it's like, well, you know what? You kind of reset your brain and you're like, this actually is the time to do it. And it worked.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know how to cut
I know
that
you're a
thing
busy
off.
guy. I appreciate you taking the time out for us.
No, that was a spam call, I'm sure. That's
Well, I mean,
usually
look,
all the phone calls I get these days.
what you just said was like that's a perfect dovetail. I mean, you're talking about how you continue to kind of stack some of those wins and learn the business and produce and produce and produce. And I think what you were alluding to and sharing with us earlier is kind of what led to building, Wheelhouse, right? So what went on to become a very, very successful. You've done some huge projects and huge productions with that company. I mean, I love to. This because I kind of like this show being all about the messy middle. So I'm not going to ask you about the wins. I'm going to ask you about, hey, in that process of growth, because you said I wanted to kind of grow, right? Or grow at all costs. Not exactly. When did you start to question that pursuit, right? On paper, we're crushing it. We got great clients. We're doing big deals. I'm making a lot of money. Was there a point in time where you started to, even in the back of your head, that voice said, maybe this isn't fully aligned, or maybe there's something else for me? What was that?
Well, it took a while. It took a while because I went into it wanting to make television shows. That was what I really enjoyed. I enjoyed creating a show, something that would entertain. And the company shifted from a television production company into a commercial production company. You get a couple of jobs and they pay really well and it's less work and they don't require the day in and day out obsession that a show requires, which is just literally you have to be involved all the time and it has to be a singular focus. And you get a couple of those jobs and you're like, wow. Like I remember I had a client that I quoted them what it was going to cost. And they said, we can't do it at that cost. You need to add a zero to that. And I was like, okay. And this was a lesson early on. So I can't even get that through my system unless there's another zero on the end of that.
They wanted you to charge more.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like literally another zero more. And it was a big eye opener. And I completely shifted my mindset at that point because that second zero, or not second zero, that extra zero felt really good. And because it went from, all right, this is what it's going to cost. I was thrilled with the price I'd given them. And I'm like, oh man, we're going to get, this is a couple months worth of pay. And then it's like, oh, add that other zero. And it's like, all right, well, we're in basically commercial production now because that is a much better pathway. They say work harder, not smarter. Work smarter, not harder. That's what I felt like at the time. I said, I can grow this. I can get a lot of people employed doing this, which felt good to me. I was still in my 20s when this was happening. So it was fun to think like, hey, I could be the boss. I could have big clients coming in the door. And I felt like I was setting the world on fire. I mean, it felt awesome. And then that little extra zero instantly changed what I had set out to do and what I wanted to do. And honestly, for the next 5-6 years, I never felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, even though there were successes all the time. And I had fun chasing business and getting business in the door. But I was always like, people would ask me what my company did or what I was doing. And I would describe it and they'd be like, but what do you do? And I'm like, this is easy. You don't understand this. And I know I wasn't describing it properly because I don't think it was what I wanted to be doing. And you kind of go back and you look and you're like, why am I describing this company that is so clearly a content production company or a commercial production company as something else? And it's because I wasn't doing what I wanted to be doing. And I didn't like saying that was the company I was building. I didn't like to say it out loud because I was chasing something different. And, but I was also getting a rush from growing the business. And obviously you like seeing your bank account look better and better and all the lifestyle that a successful business provides. But when it really started to notice was when I recognized my clients. And I'm not going to give specific clients because there's nothing I don't think that's good to share the specific clients. But I'm looking at them like, I don't use that product. I would not want my friends or my family using that product. In fact, I don't believe in that product. But here I am, I'm walking in one of my studios and the people that are working for me are using that product right there in that studio. And I'm like, eek, this is like an unhealthy product and something they shouldn't be doing. And you're like, okay, but then you look at how much money it's putting in the bank account and all of them have jobs because of it. I'm like, do I feel that bad about it? maybe, but I'm going to move on and have fun. And it's taking us to a lot of interesting places. And then another company, very much like that, a situation where, well, I probably shouldn't get into it too much, but a company
we
that
don't have to drop names here. It's all good. It's
yeah,
a slippery slope, right?
It is a slippery slope, but I realize I'm doing work for companies that I don't necessarily agree with what they're building and putting out into the world. At a minimum, I like, it's not part of my life. So other than them as a client, but you have to take the money that comes in the door to support the machine that you put together and the employee and pay the bills and the growth that you've built behind it. And so again, you're saying yes to everything. It's not so much like early on, I was saying yes to everything because it's fun. I'm figuring things out. And then it becomes, I got to say yes to everything because I got to keep the lights on and keep this thing going. Even, it's a different kind of scale. It's more than just me trying to pay my rent. It's me trying to make sure that all of these other people can pay their rent as well. And so then it just sort of creates a cycle. I mean, trying to scale, trying to grow, trying to be in one city and be in the next city and not miss a meeting and trying to be uncovering business everywhere you can look. And often it would just lead to more and more clients that weren't necessarily aligned with how I felt. So that sort of, I felt like that for years. It's really hard. It's easy in hindsight to look back and say it, but like, you don't realize, you're like, oh, I'm living the life. This is what I wanted to build. But then you go back and you look and you're like, nah, it's so easy for me to see now how off my pathway I was. But at the time you're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to feel. This is how it's supposed to look.
You articulated it perfectly. I mean, I'm so glad I had you in this first episode, man. Like that narrative arc is honestly exactly sort of thematically what I think I want to be able to share, on this show is that we get stuck in this cycle. We get stuck in this belief system. That trap of saying yes early on, like we talked about, saying yes to things, that can become a trap over time because you begin to say yes to everything. And then even that little micro adjustment, for you, it sounds like it was that little pivot of that extra zero, whether it was that or a series of events, but even that one deviation from that kind of initial pursuit and path and vision of the company can start to incrementally over time send you on a divergent pathway, right? And it doesn't feel evident in that process. It doesn't look and feel like you are doing anything drastically different. But I've been there. Over time, you're saying yes to projects, and all of a sudden, a year, 2, 3 more in, you look back and you say, wait a minute, how did I get here when my initial version of the company and vision for why I wanted to do this was way over there? And it's something that it's hard to see when you're making money and you're keeping the lights on and you get in that mindset that, look, it's societal, it's on social media, it's wherever it's coming from, growth at all costs, right? I got to build this bigger. I got to get more clients. I got to get more revenue. I got to build more of a team. That's just kind of the natural cycle that we subscribe to. But in that process, it's clear and evident that you're losing something as well in that journey. And what you said in terms of not being able to articulate what you did for clients, I've been through that same thing. It didn't feel natural and comfortable. What does my company do? I used to not even like to say the word like marketing when I was pitching, even though I was running a marketing agency. I didn't feel good about it because I didn't get into business to run a marketing agency. This will probably lose me some clients. Who cares? Whatever. But I mean, the truth is,
not if you're good at it. If you're good at what you do, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
it doesn't matter your motivation.
But I understand the sentiment that what you're sharing, right? You came into it as a craft. You love film and you love TV, and all of a sudden, when the money's good and the clients are big and you can get more of that, it's hard to say no. You got to keep the lights on. So I feel you on that trap, and I appreciate you kind of sharing with us. I mean, so going back to kind of this pivot moment, you're now however many years into it, it's probably really hard to stop saying yes and to start saying no, because you got the weight of a team and a studio and clients probably on your shoulders. How did you come to that pivot point and making that realization that, you know what, maybe this isn't what I want to continue doing, and I need to rip the Band-Aid and explore a different path for myself? Well,
I had some help getting to that moment. I mean, I had clearly been on a divergent path for me and the people I was working with. And it became more and more obvious that something had to change. And so it wasn't it was sort of over time when I'm living a life of jet setting from place to place to place, just trying to keep like the hamster wheel going. But to everyone I'm working with, it looks like I'm living some sort of luxurious lifestyle, and it looks great. And so you start to hear, and I'm like, I am giving everything I am to this business to keep this thing going. And then you start to feel not necessarily unappreciated, but you come to this conclusion of, man, my own company doesn't appreciate what I'm putting into it. And normally that's comes with it. I mean, I get it. Employees, like, that's how it works. Employees and their bosses often don't see the world the same way. But I had a partner who basically told me that. He was like, look, I mean, we're kind of operating one business and you're trying to do something else. And so after some soul searching and a lot of heartache, it was like, it's time to pull the plug on this. I need to do something else. And, I wish I had come to that. I wish I had sort of had a plan going into like a years in the making plan, because I had known for a while that that's where things were headed, that I had, like I said, I mean, from the moment I started making commercials instead of entertainment, no matter how good we did, I mean, we worked with stars, we made brands that are international brands, Fortune 100, Fortune 10 companies, some of the biggest brands in the world. We were making great stuff, and people saw them and they were good. I mean, the company did great work. I was proud of the work we were doing, but only in the sense of like, we're doing a really good job of this thing that I don't actually want to be doing. And it feels the same. Like, you would think commercial production and film production or television production are all the same thing. They're not. There wasn't a real moment other than it was time to do something different. And then the reason I was saying I wish I had a plan, because it would have been a lot cleaner, because trying to get through something like that, when you've built the business in this one vision for so long, and then how do you leave it in a safe place if you're going to leave? It gets kind of messy, and it did get kind of messy when it's like, hey, I'm going to go do something else, but I have to go do something else. I have no choice in the matter. Like, I have to go do something else. This business would probably at this point benefit from me doing something else, because my heart and soul are all in this, but it's not the right version of my heart and soul that are all in it. And I need to go put that towards something I care about. So it sort of kind of just was forced upon me, and I just had to make a change.
It's scary. I mean, it takes courage, but I mean, it's the business, as long as you've been running it, becomes part of your identity. So it's how do you
100%. I still deal with that, because so many people that knew me during those years in that era, they still know me as that person. And it's been, I mean, we're not quite at 10 years since moving on from that business, but it's been over 5. I don't know the math exactly. But I don't even connect with that business anymore. I have no emotion towards it, no feeling towards it. I don't even remember that person that I was when I was running that business. I don't even know who that person is anymore as far as I've come. But other people, like, it was my identity. It was everything. When that was also when you talk about trying to describe what the business is, I'm like, well, basically, if you were to take what you see as the company and me and my personality, that's what I do for a living. I wake up in the morning, and whatever it is that sort of, or at least that's how I felt at the time. Like, I'm going to wake up this morning, and whatever I feel like doing today is what my company is. And that's how ingrained into my identity that company was. And yeah, it is very difficult to adjust to that not being the case anymore. But there's also this huge sense of relief of like, you never wanted that to begin with. Like, the relief of, now I can do something else. Now I can finally start to explore what it is I actually want to contribute to society. Because this other company that I was building was contributing no value to society other than internally with the company and the employment of the people that work there. There was literally nothing we were making there. I take that back. We did start a nonprofit that did some really good work for other nonprofits, and we provided services to them. But the business, the for-profit side of it, was only providing commercials for companies that could really hire anyone to do the work, put it out there. It was feeling very like commoditized as to what we were as a company. I'm like, man, this isn't who I want to be. Yeah. And now I got to figure that part out, which I'm still figuring it out. But now I got to figure that other part out. It's crazy how much I don't identify with my business now as who I am. So I love what I'm doing. And I'm so proud of the work that this company does. And I would love it if other people identified me with the work that we're doing now, but I don't identify with it that way anymore. Because that was something I was like, don't ever do that to yourself again. Don't ever tie yourself and your self-identity to the business that you're building.
I mean, look, it's hard not to though, right? When you spend that much of your energy and your time and your life not being tied up in it, it's not like a W-2. You clock in, you clock out. As an entrepreneur, you're kind of always on. Right?
You never clock out.
It's blurred lines in terms of boundaries with clients, with team members, with family. So, and I was in a similar situation going from one career in entertainment and film to sounds like what you did, ripping the Band-Aid and jumping ship. No plan, no other job, and not recommending that for most people, but sometimes you can't wait for the right, perfect, soft landing moment to extract yourself from that reality, right? Once you kind of see enough, it sounds like you had enough of a conviction that you need to just kind of have a clean break. And
I think and then the pandemic hit.
That helps. That helps.
I mean. Yeah. Well, the break had already happened, but then in that self-discovery moment, and all of a sudden, revenue and income have dwindled because you're trying to figure out what to do.
That also helps too. Sure.
And now the world's going to shut down. There was a lot of hardening during that time period.
Well, look, I mean, as much as you're quote unquote, you're in the shit in that moment, I think it sounds like you can look back now fondly and say that was what was needed. Those conditions were what was needed to light a fire under me to kind of make the move. So shifting to what you're building now with Lightbeam, and I'd love for you to just give a little bit of that shift and pitch to us about what Lightbeam is and how it is more sort of soulfully purpose aligned for you. As a business, what shift in your mindset and your belief system as a human being, as a person, as an entrepreneur had to occur for you to be able to build this new business, to build Lightbeam in alignment with what inspires you?
I don't know exactly what the shift is. What is it that I want to do? I want to make entertainment. I want it to have value to the world. And how do I do that? Well, I've only at this point built a company that made commercials, so how do I take the network I built, the skills that I learned in doing that, and maybe a touch of the nonprofit that I started, because that's sort of where I did get a lot of joy out of the nonprofit work, and combine those elements together. Now, I had a couple false starts before getting there with some other businesses and things like that. But it's like, how do I take those things and combine them into a business and say, that's the level I'm going to be at. I know some people in LA and Hollywood, and I'm living in New York, but the New York network is way more the commercial network, the go business network. Mm-hmm. But I want to be at the level where I can just walk into one of these major studios and say, I have a project. Are you guys interested? Or
and pitch it with pride.
Yeah. I'm like, right. That's where I'm going to go. And it's crazy because I always, you go out and you're doing what you want to do. And I'm like, I'm at the level I want to be at. Which is instantly, I'm like, I'm making things that I care about. Now, do I hope that I can take what I've started working on now and get them to the level where they're household names or they're Oscar nominated, or, really I only care about that my hometown friends have seen them and that they respect them because or my family, does it really matter much outside of that? But that's at the end of the day. I really hope, we can make some hits and things that have huge impact, and those type of results are important to me. But the fact that we're doing something that matters to me personally, I think is really important first, where it used to just not matter to me personally. The only thing that mattered to me was like, hey, I'm building a business. I've got people working here and I'm making more money. Now the products are what matter to me. And
the process,
that's been a huge mindset. The process, absolutely. I love
and the
pathway.
Process. I mean, it's a different pathway that seems aligned. I mean, that's why I kind of like to talk about finding that balance, profit and purpose, right? Doing good and doing well. A lot of times as entrepreneurs in business in general, you look at these things as mutually exclusive. Either you're fully profit, driven and growth and scale at all costs, but sometimes you got to sacrifice the passion part of it and the purpose. Or on the purpose side, right? Like, we've been around founders that it's all passion, and yet you can't sustain that just on feel good alone. You got to make a profit. So it's finding the way that you can do what you love, but making it successful and being able to do more of that and having a real impact in the world.
Yeah, I think they call them hobbies. If you're not making any money, I think they call them hobbies.
Well, amen, right? It's right. It's just it's a hobby, or it's unfortunately, it's a short faded project or endeavor. How does it feel now? Like feelings that come up for you, like emotionally, on this new path you're on, building Lightbeam, creating content that you love and it's going to have an impact. What are the feelings that you feel now that were probably vacant or void once upon a time in your previous company?
Well, if somebody asks me what I do now, it's really easy to tell them, versus like trying to give some roundabout answer. So that feeling is pretty good because I'm proud to say what it is. And I live in a different city now, and no one here knew me when I was running a big business and had all that stuff going on. I kind of like that. I mean, I people here know me as a guy who's building a business, know me as a guy who's just out trying to make something happen, not somebody who's, operating a large production company. It's that feels
how about
good.
Your life? Sorry, I was going to say, how about like your lifestyle? I mean, you just became a dad, right? Like, can you imagine the lifestyle, like mentally, emotionally, how you operate now?
Well, the reason I mean, like I'm 46 years old, and I hadn't had a baby until this old because I was busy all the time. There was no space to have a child. And I was, gearing up to have one before I had to shift in, what I was doing. And then the pandemic hits, and then you're like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do now? Like we were ready to settle and start having a kid and get that world going. And, it's way different. I mean, like I literally cannot imagine I cannot imagine. And to everyone who's had more than one child, like you and your two kids, like you had a second one. What were you thinking, man? I love this first one so much. He's incredible. But like, I love that right now I'm building this business. He sits on Zoom calls with me. He's like,
he's a closer.
We call him the closer. We call him the little closer. He sits on Zoom calls. I mean, he wasn't going to fly around all these different cities with me. There was just no way to do this prior to this current iteration of who I am. But you got me thinking about him, and now it's hard to think about myself. But
I told you we're allowed to cry here, man. I mean, if you want to let it out,
you're not going to get any tears unless it's joy. Although he was laughing the other night, and he was laughing so hard, and you're just like, is this the greatest sound you've ever heard in your life? And that could maybe get me to cry. So that's what you do. If you just get a recording of him laughing, you could probably get some tears from me. No, the life now is so much better, and it's brought a lot of opportunity to me. It's been a business that has brought me the kind of people I wanted to meet in my life, the kind of people I want to work with. I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for this business. And there's other people that I've met that care about this type of work and that have a passion for the work they're doing. And that just makes this, I'm in such a better place professionally. And because I'm in a better place professionally, I'm in a better place personally.
I'm happy for you, brother. Amen.
Thanks, man.
So I want to kind of wind down a little bit, our act 3, if you will. First, I want to do a couple rapid fire with you. But first, I want to ask you, because I think we all need inspiration. I'm kind of like you, where I didn't necessarily have a mentor coming up. It's probably the only thing I would have done different is try to align myself with like a coach, a mentor, someone early in their career. Is there one founder or entrepreneur or even business and brand out there today that you admire for their ability to kind of lead with purpose, right? Doing good, doing well, profitable, successful, but doing things on their own terms?
I just did a film project with a woman in the Galapagos Islands who has made the most sustainable restaurant in the world. And she sort of backdoored into that. She's an incredible chef, but she has built this entire community in the Galapagos Islands around this restaurant and just brought this thinking to this remote part of the world that has never been there before. So that's something really interesting. Not a name brand or anything like that, but I know it will become a name brand at some point. Muyu, M-U-Y-U.
I'm gonna look that up.
But she's just an incredible person, and what she's building has really done it. There's so much out there. I know 100 things are going to come to mind once we.
I'm just glad you're saying there's a lot. Myself included, I think I would ask that question to many people in business and entrepreneurship that would probably draw a blank for the opposite reason, saying, "Oh, it's hard to think of somebody." I think it goes both ways. I know you're immersed in that world through Lightbeam and the content you're producing, and that sounds absolutely incredible. We need more of those inspirational founders and leaders and stories. But I'll be honest, I think a lot of people would argue they would draw a blank for saying there's not a lot out there that I see doing good and doing well. So, thank you for sharing that.
I think there's a little bit of a shift, and I think the world is going to get more and more entrepreneurial. And Amen. I think we've all we went through something collectively as humanity. And I think a lot of people had some self-discovery, and we're 5 years past the peak of the pandemic now. And I think I'm optimistic that the world will be full of more people that are building businesses and brands that serve a purpose and contribute to society positively.
Amen. I'm with you. This is not a trend. This is a movement. And I appreciate you being kind of on the tip of the spear of it. So just a couple final little rapid fire. This is like one thought, one word, replies. One lie that you had to unlearn about success.
Well, I would think that a lie that I had to unlearn about success is that there is such a thing as success, because, like most people would have, like, I look at you and I'm like, man, that's a successful dude. He's got a beautiful family. He lives on a street that's, perfect little cottages right by the beach. He's traveling the world. That looks like success to me. And then I would probably, if we were to start peeling back your layers, you would probably tell me things that, what's that?
I'd say the same about you. I mean, I'd be like, no, Parker, that's what you are. But
yeah, but we don't need to make this a love fest.
It's fine. We can hug virtually. Grass is always greener. All right, moving on.
That was not rapid. Sorry.
Is there one book, or it could be anything, any piece of media that you'd hand every founder starting out, or actually any stage of their career?
Well, I got right here. This book I read a long time ago, and I would say How to Win Friends and Influence People was an incredible book. My dad gave me that book. Long time ago. The lessons in that book, treat people the way you want to be treated. I know that's the basis of things, but that's the playbook right there. That's the playbook on how to build a business, how to build, and it could say how to win clients and, whatever. It's all the same, but that's a book I would definitely recommend to someone or anyone.
Some of those are just timeless, and it's just timeless wisdom that should be read and reread and reread and reread. So final question for you. Of course, it echoes the name of the show, but what does profit with purpose mean to you? A single phrase, single thought.
You can have a lot more value if you're making money. So go be a bleeding heart, but figure out how to get money in the door so that blood can spread a lot further out. You want to go out. If you can make money you can contribute. So you don't have to suffer in order to provide value to the world. So that would be profit with purpose would be that. Be like, make some money because you can do a lot more good if you're making money doing it.
It's practical, pragmatic advice. I lied. I'm sorry. This is my first rodeo, man. I have one final like closing question that I'm going to ask hopefully everybody that ever comes on this show. In one sentence, what do you believe is your purpose?
Oh man, well, you're asking me right after having a son, so it's definitely going to go back to making sure that whatever I'm doing, whether it's work or recreation, that it's providing joy, providing value, providing light, to the people around me. If I'm putting something out to the world, that it sparks light, that it makes people around me feel better. I love that feeling of feeling good. And I want to share that with as many people as I can.
How apropos, the name of your company, Lightbeam.
I didn't actually name it Lightbeam though, so I can't take the credit for that, but I've really started to embrace it.
It's great branding. We're going to include a link to it in the show notes and all that. But Parker Williams, guest 1, episode 1. I appreciate you, brother, for being on this show with me.
Thanks, Chase. I really am honored to be here. I wish you the best of luck with this thing. I wish I was I wish I was better at doing these things so that you could come on and have this like wonderful,
Look,
all these great sound bites. All these great sound bites.
This is not about the polish. This is not about, the wins and look how successful. This is about the messy middle, man. This is about being vulnerable and real and honest. And, thank you for sharing that. I think honestly, at least for me and hopefully other people out there, that goes far, far more and it gets remembered far more than sometimes those fleeting wins, those fleeting successes is understanding like what it's like in the trenches and that you can kind of still find the good in it and profit with purpose. So again, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate you. And if you're listening in, hopefully you can share this with a founder that needs to hear some of these pearls of wisdom that Parker shared with us today.
Thanks, Chase.
I appreciate you tuning in today. I hope this brought you a bit of confidence, clarity, and conviction on your business journey. If something here resonated, do me a favor, leave a quick review or share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. It goes a long way in helping more people find the show and start their own journey. And as always, you'll find all the resources and ways to connect with me in the show notes. Now, go take that next step in building the business you've been dreaming of. Wishing you continued purpose, prosperity, and peace of mind.